Racism has been a pressing issue in the United States for centuries, starting in the dawn of time with slavery to the fight for civil rights led by Martin Luther King in the 60s. February was Black History Month, a time to reflect on this matter and to appreciate our heritage. This is why in this special edition of our History channel, we're going to talk about a man who was wrongly accused of murder solely based on the color of his skin. This man was Rubin Carter.
Better known as Hurricane in his boxer days, he was born on May 6 in 1937 in New Jersey. He's not only famous because of his amazing boxing career, but for the murder he was accused of in 1966.
My every day in prison was one of fighting against the entire prison system.
He spent almost 20 years in prison because of that accusation, but his criminal record started when he was 12 years old after he attacked a man with a knife. Carter said that the man was trying to touch one of his friends, claiming he was a pedophile. He got 6 years in the Jamesburg State Home for Boys.
After this punishment finished, Rubin Carter joined the army in 1954. During this time, he trained as a boxer and served in some segregated corps.
But things weren't going all right for Carter. In 1957, he spent 4 years behind the bars, this time in a high-security prison named Trenton State. After that, he concentrated all his anger in his boxing practices. In 1961, he was a professional boxer who fought for his rights and the situation in an African community in Patterson.
In that year, his career started. He won many fights, and thanks to his training and effort, his fast fists gave him the nickname of Hurricane. In 1963, he won a fight against the welterweight world champion, the American Emile Griffith, in a first-round KO. Before this, Rubin Hurricane Carter was already a favorite to compete for the world middleweight crown.
It was June 17 when Carter was arrested for a triple murder of 3 patrons at the Lafayette Bar and Grill in Patterson. Apparently, this public figure and his companion John Artis were a perfect match for 2 eyewitnesses, Alfred Bello and Arthur D. Bradley, had pointed out. They were 2 Negroes in a white car. Although there was little to no evidence that they were ever linked to the crime except for these 2 witnesses, who were also fugitives of the law, Carter and Artis were convicted of triple murder and sentenced to 3 life prison terms.
This did not stop Rubin Carter. He defied the authority while in jail in order to defend his innocence. He refused to wear an inmate's uniform, and he kept reading and studying.
It was no surprise when in 1974 Bello and Bradley decided to take back their testimony, confessing they lied in order to get sympathy from the police. In the face of justice, Artis and Carter were released on bail. However, this only lasted for 6 months, until Bello decided to revert his testimony once again. Carter's lawyers filed for a 3rd trial, but couldn't do anything, leaving no other choice but to let him go to jail once more.
During his second time in jail, Artis had been a model prisoner, for which he was released on parole. But this was not the case for Carter.
He spent most of his time alone, and even his wife, Ma Thelma, stopped visiting on his demand. Thankfully, he established a relationship with Lesra Martin, a Canadian teenage boy who had developed an interest in Carter's case, leading his benefactors, some of which were Sam Chayton, Terry Swinton, and Lisa Peters, to work together in his legal defense team to get him released from jail.
On November 7, 1985, Rubin's process of release started due to the decision of Saraki. He said that it had obviously been a case of racial accusation and was later supported by the United States Supreme Court, when a jury dismissed the indictments of Carter and his friend. After 22 long years of prison, they were finally free.
If I find a heaven after this life, I'll be quite surprised. In my own years on this planet, though,
I lived in hell for the first 49 years and have been in heaven for the past 28 years.
To live in a world where truth matters and justice, however late, really happens.
That world would be heaven enough for us all.